Hi, Richards. Welcome back.
All right, thank you. Let me just find you here on my desktop there, Cone. Okay, wonderful. Um, so you have my slides up, Cone?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. I apologize for the
No worries. No. Thank you.
difficulty. Yeah, as you say, these things do happen. It's just wonderful to be with all of you today. I inserted, well, first of all, on slide one here, I did want to just share with you what we're going to talk a little bit for a few minutes today about a wonderful man named Captain Jacques Cousteau, who was a famous explorer back in the 1960s and 1970s. And I had the opportunity to work for Captain Cousteau, and he was a real inspiration for me. And I believe he probably came up with the term "our water planet." And here in this first image, you see Apollo 9, which was 51 years ago, 1969. Photograph was taken by Russell Schweikart, an astronaut who I actually had the opportunity to work with in Washington, D.C. And you see our blue planet, our blue marble in the background, our water planet. So, Cone, if you go to the next slide, I just inserted this quickly for David because that Lego presentation was so great. And this is reflecting a presentation I made a year ago or so with you, Cone, and this young student was at home and was watching on their computer pre-COVID, but they were doing some remote learning. And if you go to the next slide there, if we zoom in a little bit, you can actually see on the screen one of the things that Captain Cousteau was famous for was the creation of the aqua lung, the regulator that allowed people to breathe from a tank of compressed air underwater. Before that, you were not able to freely dive and breathe underwater. So this opened up the undersea world. And if we go to the next slide, Cone, what I really wanted to do was talk about other things that Captain Cousteau really represented in his characteristics. He was an extremely enthusiastic, very curious, very smart man, and a real visionary. Always asking questions of all different kinds of topics, just an insatiable appetite to learn and to share his learnings with his audience. He was really an educator and an entertainer, and he put a lot of this material, these photographs, these films, and even his books were worldwide, around the world, very popular, one of the best known individuals on the planet. He was also very insightful and a real inspiration. He had a crew on the ship that he just had a mastery of, whether they be on the ship or on land, the people that worked for him, he could really motivate them and inspire them and got every last ounce of energy out of them in a very positive way. So, Cone, on the next slide, you see that same image, that same photograph that Rick presented from NASA. And it's interesting, we've got some synergies here between what we've heard today. And by the way, I want to mention wonderful Celine, who spoke earlier, wonderful young lady, a great friend of ours. So it was great to see Celine speak again. But here, if we look at this famous image, Earthrise, Captain Cousteau said, "We live on a small planet with limited resources. We must recognize that Earth is unique and do everything we can to preserve and protect it." So he said that, and if you go to the next slide, Cone, he said that in the spirit of space exploration was very important, and what's going on now is very important and very interesting. And we can benefit on the planet from some of the technologies that come out of the space programs around the world. But I think part of his perspective was, let's protect the planet we have as well. We may explore Mars, per our conversation earlier today, but we need to take care of what's going on planet Earth. It's our precious home. And he had over 100 television shows, and one of the series of shows was called Oasis in Space, and Earth is an oasis in space, and a very unique environment. We have very special wonderful environment. So by using space technology, here he is sitting in a mock-up of the space shuttle back in the 1960s. But also with satellite technology and so forth, we can monitor from space pollution, population, food shortages, water, all in the benefit, all in the spirit of maintaining and preserving a high quality of life on the planet. On the next slide, Cone, Captain Cousteau was also a very outspoken advocate, very brave, very strong, and he would pressure in an intellectual, smart way politicians and business industrial powers to do the right thing, to protect the environment. And he was also an incredible advocate for education. Here you see him with surrounded by children. He would be delighted that we're having this call today. He would be fascinated by it as well, because this type of technology did not exist back then. He had a strong voice at the UN. He worked on multiple projects with the United Nations, including sustainable social development in the spirit of health, food, shelter, and specifically education for women. He left a big mark on me. He was a great inspiration to me. And I started a nonprofit organization called Future Frogmen. And I work with students around the United States as well as Canada, and ultimately will be international. But I show you this slide because last June we did participate in a panel during United Nations World Oceans Week. And we had a panel, a student panel on climate change. And these different master's and PhD students were talking about the research they're doing and how climate change is impacting species and other types of habitats. That is available, a video of that is available on our website, futurefrogmen.org, if you want to check that out. And then my favorite quotation of Captain Cousteau is that people protect what they love what they understand, and they understand what they are taught. And I think that's a lot of what we're doing here today and what you've been doing in your classrooms with your wonderful teachers. You're learning and you're understanding, and then you can take action. So the next slide here, Cone, are you showing the slide of Calypso, the ship, right now? Okay, we should be seeing the slide Calypso here, and this is the ship that Captain Cousteau sailed around the world in many times. I served on this ship as a diver, and I wanted to. The next slide is just a couple snippets, if you will, from a song that a wonderful, talented musician songwriter John Denver wrote, named Calypso. John visited us on the ship, and I thought these words jumped out at me relative to you all, you students. In search of the answer to questions unknown, part of beginning to understand, to live on the land we must learn from the sea. These are segments of the lyrics of this great song. If you look up this song on YouTube, you can hear it, Calypso. And to me, it hit me that we've learned an awful lot. This was 45 years ago. We've learned an awful lot. You all have learned an awful lot. We have a lot more to learn, but with everything we've learned, we can take action. So going forward to the next slide with the clownfish, what we do at Future Frogmen is we try to improve awareness and appreciation of the ocean. We do that through communication, learning, and exploration, and field-based actions. So the next slide, Cone, is I wanted to share with you one of our areas of focus is climate change. We're looking at sea level rise, the impact of sea level rise on the coastlines, and of course, ocean acidification. The next slide represents one of our new activities, which is very exciting in the field. We are working on coral reef protection and restoration. We will be having interns working on coral reef nurseries in the Florida Keys, and we'll likely be extending that to the sister organizations in Bonaire as well as Australia, and I dare say elsewhere around the world. So this is a real tangible action in the field to restore reefs that have been impacted by ocean acidification as a result of climate change. The next slide regards STEM, which you're familiar with that term: science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM education, and also interdisciplinary education. Very important STEM education, but also we work with students that they might be writers, they might be videographers, photographers, artists, they might be studying politics, might be studying law, and so on. We support participation. We judge contests in that. We sponsor and we promote this important STEM education and other interdisciplinary education. And then finally, Cohen, on the next slide, we are involved in activism as a form of action relative to climate change. We're a little platform, but we're growing and we're making impact. And the point of all three of these actions here, these are all things you can do in your local area as well, I dare say. But through email campaigns, there's incredible software available, and we have we enlist our subscribers to support email campaigns that we design, and that goes to our politicians, our state, local, and federal politicians, particularly Congress, because there are bills that have been overturned with the recent administration, and we're trying to get some of those back. And there's new bills that are currently proposed. One of those is an ocean climate action plan here in the U.S., and we're supporting the people that put that before Congress, and we're telling our Congress people how important that is. And so these are some examples of what we're doing in the United States to support actions on climate change. And then, Cohen, just the last slide there. If anyone's interested, feel free to reach out to me if you have any questions. There's my email and my mobile telephone, U.S. telephone number. Really appreciate your listening. Sorry about the technical difficulties, but despite the challenges of all this, I just want to encourage you all to be optimistic. When I see the energy and the intelligence of you young people, it gives me tremendous hope and gives me energy to keep fighting and keep working. So keep up the great work. Your voice matters, and your work will make a tremendous difference. Thank you.
Thank you, Richard, and for your message of activism. I know you and I have been friends and never been able to meet in person, so it's lovely to see you after all of our emails, and thank you for the work you're doing.
Thank you.
Appreciate you being here with us today.